Anyone who's been in an abusive relationship will be familiar with the abuser's tactic of threatening the victim with the consequences of their actions. With that in mind, this evening's Lozalog has been heavily censored by our free speech-loving head honchos back there at GB News HQ to make sure that we're positioned as far away from possible as the abuser's threats, but as close as possible to the news. Let's see how that works out in the long term. Anyway, I've made my point. One of the more irritating expressions thrown around nowadays and uttered ad nauseam this week in response to the cosy protection racket attempting to hold up ITV's rocky reputation for burying bad news has been the often trumpeted declaration, "I'm a good person." Often directly said before a good person is forced to own up for doing something really well but not good at all. It's the ultimate postmodern defence. I'm not capable of doing bad because I identify as being good. However, a passing understanding of secondary school history is enough to remind one that we should be wary of anyone who self-identifies as being good. History is littered with good people doing questionable things under the guise of being kind. Moreover, and more often than not, these kind and good people are actually scoundrels of the highest order. The obsequious Matt Hancock, for example, goose-stepping confidently towards the kangaroo COVID cover-up in his size 6.5 jack boots, demanding forgiveness because, you know, he was crazy in love and he's just a human. Matt's a good person. Then there's Phillip Schofield. Am I allowed to... No, I am allowed to say his name. He who must not be shamed. Phillip says that anyone who questions his version of the story of the sorry state of his affair with a young runner on This Morning, can you guess what they are yet? That's right, kids. You're a nasty homophobe. A deflection perfectly timed to align with the start of the most holy month of Pride. Most blessed month. I, for one, am so grateful that Phillip has raised the scourge of homophobia, gripping the UK in recent years, making it nigh on impossible to tell the difference between us and Saudi Arabia, a proud kingdom only a teensy bit less devout in its own rapture and worship of the holy month of Pride than we are here in the rapidly declining West. Fortunately, though, to the rescue of this most sacred of months comes the king of good people, empath-in-chief, man on a humble mission just to breathe. Sadiq can't. Luckily for us, Sadiq doesn't think that homophobia is too bad these days because this holy month he's plumbing deeper waters. Away from the boring old days of gay and lesbian rights, he's progress in motion. He's decided to raise awareness of and be a good ally to some imaginary thing called a non-binaries. Nope, me neither. Answers on a postcard, please. But more importantly, this man of deep and grounded faith wants to be a good ally to vulnerable kids upon whose flesh demons have fed. It brings a tear to one's eye, watching as all those hard-fought-for gay and lesbian rights are torn up in front of our eyes by monsters with scalpels and a wandering eye for children's genitals. Oh, blessed month. So forgive me for being a bit bored of our moral superiors harping on about what good people they are when they really aren't, and how we must all be kind all the time when they so rarely are. Incidentally, whilst I'm on the subject, isn't it interesting how many of the be kind, I'm a good person bunch want to stick their nose into your business, telling you what car to drive, what temperature to set the washing machine, how many sausages you can eat per week, and how many children you can have, if any, all while sat on their hemp yoga mats and Extinction Rebellion T-shirts, fantasising about bombing other countries back into the Stone Age in the name of furthering world peace. Here's a thought. Could it be because maybe, just maybe, they're not good people, and that perhaps none of us are? We are bad people who are capable of being good, but just underneath the surface we all hide some pretty unpleasant character traits, which, when affirmed in modern parlance or excused in olden days language, can lead to some pretty dire consequences for them and those they're so hell-bent on being kind to. We are obsessed by outward appearance and perception, whilst turning a blind eye to what's really going on inside, our fears and worries, weaknesses and strengths. Perhaps if we stop poking our nose into each other's business, declaring ourselves publicly to be good people instead of trying to be honest with ourselves, the world might soon stop feeling like a poorly maintained fairground ride. It's an old-fashioned idea, but it might just catch on.